This video is brought to you by biting the inside of your mouth, and then it's slightly swollen, then you bite it again and you're like, ah! There was a moment in Spider-Man Homecoming, this moment, where I went, wait, what? If Spider-Man Homecoming is set in 2017, then that means the Avengers, which came out in 2012, was actually set in 2009. Or maybe Avengers was set in 2012 and Spider-Man is set in 2020. Or maybe these movies aren't set in the years that they come out. Turns out there is an explanation for this. I'm not going to go into it though. I'm not some pedantic nerd who makes videos about Marvel continuity errors. Look, that's clearly not true. I'm all of those things, so you know what? We're gonna roll with it. That's what this is gonna be. Going through some universe-breaking plot holes from the MCU. All of these probably have explanations, but if they're on this list, that means I didn't look them up. There you go. This first one is big, and it has plagued me since it first happened. Agent Coulson, who was stabbed to death in the Avengers, you remember that? It was a pivotal moment in a film. Anyway, you flash forward to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC, and Coulson has returned. Now, initially I'm thinking, right, okay, well, he could be an LMD. Maybe some medics got to him before his heart stopped beating because it had a giant hole in it. But hey, it turns out that he was dead, and what they done to resolve this was unscrew the top of his head, poke around a bit, and then bam! He's back! He's out there! So that means in the MCU, there exists a definitive cure for death. Sure, it's complicated and probably costly, but inevitably, when someone important eventually dies, Quicksilver does not count, and it's not another fake out, the question should surely arise, hey, why doesn't somebody do that thing from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? You know, that show ABC wanted to cancel until Disney stepped in and slapped the non-cancel button. By the way, every TV network has a cancel and non-cancel button. It's just, I mean, it's easier, it's less paperwork. On the topic of Marvel TV though, it's become more and more apparent that as the Netflix series progress, that everybody outside of Hell's Kitchen doesn't give a shit about what happens there. I mean, what would it take for even the worst Avenger to step in and intervene? The worst Avenger, of course, being Quicksilver's corpse. Wasn't anybody concerned at all when someone was drilling into the core of New York City, resulting in unusual and potentially city-destroying seismic activity? The whole of New York was literally going to fall down. Also, stop referring to the time aliens attacked New York City as just the incident. It's okay that these two universes that exist in the same universe legitimately acknowledge one another. Recasting in the Marvel universe is unavoidable. Or it's very avoidable. I don't know. I'm not privy to these decisions. Anyways, sometimes it's barely noticeable, like when Men in Tights from the Thor films was swapped out. But other times, it's very noticeable, like Rhodey and Bruce Banner. I mean, this isn't really a continuity error. They're still technically the same character, but they do have different faces, so I'm counting it, I guess. It counts. I didn't edit it out. This is a point I'm making, apparently. Right, so if you've seen The Inhumans, which judging by the lukewarm response it received, you probably haven't. I mean, look, the only positive review it received said something about thoughtful metaphors in a superhero series. I'll tell you this much though, I have seen it. That is 100% not the case. But that's neither here nor there. The reason though I bring up the Inhumans, let's not pretend we live in a reality where the Inhumans isn't the worst thing in the MCU, but what that will basically mean is there's a society of people living on the moon that will go completely ignored for the duration of this franchise, which could wrap up, say, in a few years, but more likely, this whole thing's gonna extend for decades. Maybe this doesn't result in a broken universe, but I still think it's gonna be strange that every time we see the moon in a Marvel film, people are gonna think, well, you know, people who saw the Inhumans, there are actual people living there and nobody gives a shit. I got a few others that I wanna go through, but I might save those for another video. Now, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do it now. S.H.I.E.L.D. was labeled S.H.I.E.L.D. in the 40s, and yet flash forward to Iron Man, and apparently, they haven't figured out a name for it yet.
I'm Agent Phil Coulson with the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division.
That's quite a mouthful.
I know. We're working on it.
Also in The Incredible Hulk, Captain America's S.H.I.E.L.D. was frozen in a different place to where it was found in his movie. Well, unless it's an entirely different S.H.I.E.L.D., in which case, I mean, what are the chances? Also, Tony Stark perfected limb regrowing technology. You know who'd love that? Coulson, Rhodey's legs, the Winter Soldier. I mean, if you're unwilling to regrow the arm of a man who strangled your mother to death, then what kind of man are you? Hold a mirror up to yourself, mate. The real villain is you! And your weird little goatee. Why are you still rocking that? Right, here's the winner of last week's Loot Crate. If you are this person, just private message me these details, and it is all yours. And if you want to win next week's box, just leave any comment below. Perhaps on something you feel breaks the MCU, or even a refute to one of my bulletproof points in this video that are no doubt impossible to counter-argue. Also, I have a podcast called The Weekly Planet. It happens every Monday where we talk movies and comics and TV shows, and sometimes we even break scoops that may or may not be real. Here's a non-spoiler clip from the show with images that I will link below and at the end of this video.
Mason, you've got a
you've
got a hot Ragnarok scoop. Oh no, you got something else?
Well, I was going to say a perfect segue.
Yeah.
Into our favourite game on this podcast, Hot Scoop or a shot of poop. Now, for anybody who isn't aware of this game, so one of us presents some exclusive news, some behind the scenes,
yes,
a bit of something that we believe is maybe exclusive to this podcast. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. That's the scoop.
Yes,
and then if eventually later it turns out that this isn't true, James has to do a shot of poo.
Wait, this is your scoop, by
Correct.
the way. So why am I...
Hey man, I don't make the rules, alright?
Yes, you do.
What?
You made this rule.
Oh, okay, I kind of did. Anyway.
Fine, I'll do it.
Great,
For
good.
the podcast.
Oh yeah, we also have a show called Caravan of Garbage where we make fun of video games. So just to clarify, there's videos on this channel Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Plus the podcast on Monday, which I said that already. So subscribe to get all that if you want. But thanks for watching this. I appreciate it. Take care.